Welcome. We are so glad that you could join us this evening to talk about sleep reimagined. So, I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview. My name is Kate. I'm the Vice President of Commercialization here at Neurovalens. And for tonight's webinar, I just want to make sure that everyone knows this is for educational purposes only, and it does not constitute a doctor-patient relationship. Um, this is going to be very conversational. We're so fortunate to have Dr. Audrey Wells and Dr. Jason McKeown here this evening, and we're going to get a nice little demo of the device. You're going to get to see exactly how Modius Sleep works and get a real sense of how the technology can really impact and hopefully improve your sleep.
Good. Well, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I am Dr. Audrey Wells. I'm the founder and CEO of Super Sleep MD, which is an online platform for people who have sleep apnea and insomnia, and sometimes the combination of the two. I was quite frankly frustrated with the medical delivery system, and that was my motivation for starting something completely different. I'm super happy to be here tonight to talk about Modius Sleep. I am going to do a demo for you because this is technology that I have tried, which is really important so that I can make sure to tell you exactly what my own experience has been. And I am thrilled to kick it off with Dr. Jason McKeown, who is the CEO of Neurovalens.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Wells. So just a little bit about my background. I almost have like two distinct parts to my background. One is the academic medical side. So I'm an MD from the UK, but I also have a visiting professor position here at one of the universities in the School of Medicine. And then in the US, I have visiting positions at the Department of Psychiatry in UCSD in San Diego, and then also in Stanford. Department of Neurosurgery. So my background in that sense is very academic, medical. So hopefully I'll be able to answer some of the background science questions to this. But then the other part of that is I'm also CEO of Neurovalens. And Neurovalens was set up as a UK medical device company. It really stemmed from my research at those institutions that I mentioned, but also my desire to stop prescribing more and more sedatives and sleeping pills and drugs for my patients. And I didn't want to prescribe them. I don't think my patients actually wanted to take them, but we all felt that there was no other choice. So that really prompted me to look at non-invasive and non-drug ways that we can maybe influence parts of the brain that control sleep. And then after a long period of R&D and research, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of this during the chat, but after a long period of that, then we got our FDA clearance for our Modius Sleep device, and we can now prescribe that in the US to help people with their insomnia.
You know, that so resonates with me, feeling like you needed something else besides pills to give people who have trouble sleeping. And I know that a lot of the audience on this webinar today is interested in how this device works and what the science backing is. I want to start out though with who is the ideal patient or ideal person that Modius Sleep is meant to help?
Yeah, there are almost different ways you can look at this. So I would say generally the device is, it's very safe. It's a drug-free product, and that can actually just be used by a wide range of people who have sleep issues. So in a general sense, if you're struggling with your sleep, potentially for, as I say, a range of issues, Modius Sleep can be considered as perhaps something that you can add in or you can use instead that might provide benefit. But if you dive into that and be a little more specific and you look at, say, the clinical trials and what the FDA allow us to do, strictly speaking, that definition is adults who have chronic insomnia. And for those who don't know what chronic insomnia is, it's almost like sometimes I call it the normal type of insomnia. So it's not caused by something external. It is just a normal person who goes to bed at the right time and does all the right things, but no matter what, they cannot sleep. And that might be that they can't fall asleep. It might be that they have multiple awakenings during the night, or it might be that they awaken really early in the morning and they can't get back over. So if that sounds like you and you've had that for quite a long time, probably more than 3 months, then actually that's the definition of what the FDA clearance is about. And that's typically who we've studied in the clinical trials that we've carried out.
Yeah, it makes sense. And insomnia is one of the most common sleep disorders. So you have sleep onset insomnia, middle insomnia, and terminal insomnia. A lot of times what I hear from people is, I don't sleep well, and I don't care if it has a name, but I want help and I want to feel better. It's not uncommon for somebody to have more than one sleep disorder, sleep apnea and insomnia, restless legs and insomnia, et cetera. So I'm wondering, does the Modius Sleep device sort of layer with other treatments? Is that one way it can be used?
Yes, we've had a lot of success with exactly that.
Mhm.
So for example, yes, sleep apnea is very common, and yes, there might be a mechanical issue, and you need the positive airway pressure to really help with that. But a lot of those patients actually, even if they can work through that, they still don't get super great sleep, or they feel tired, or they feel that their sleep could improve. So we've actually had quite a lot of patients who then add this in on top of their treatment, and have had really good results actually. And then overall, with time, their quality of sleep actually starts to really improve. So anyone who's considering that, actually, yeah, I think there's a good chance that you would see a nice benefit there.
Yeah, I think that's an important point for anybody who has a diagnosis of sleep apnea and is using something like PAP therapy. PAP may take care of your breathing during sleep, but it doesn't necessarily improve your sleep quality. And for a lot of people, their sleep quality gets worse, at least transiently, as they're acclimating. So it makes sense that you would have something that boosts sleep quality or helps. And that kind of brings me to one of the things that you and I were talking about earlier, which is when to use the Modius Sleep device. Now, as a sleep medicine physician, if I see a sleep treatment, it seems to me that it would be used in the time before sleep or during sleep. So when I got the sample of this device, I was inclined to put it on as I was going to bed in order to try it. But then I learned later from you that it was actually intended to be used during the day.
Yeah, I think that's a really common uh, sort of mindset whenever you come to look at sleep products. And if you
Mhm.
look at, and I know there's a range of almost sleep technology that you can look at. There are medical devices, and I'm sure again we'll dive into this a bit later. Obviously, we're in that category, and then there are kind of like wellness, lifestyle type
Mhm.
devices. And the trend that we noticed with a lot of the lifestyle devices, where they were maybe some sort of cap or some sort of wearable that you put on, and then you tried to sleep, and it would maybe measure some activity, or there plays audio, or it tries to synchronize with your sleep architecture.
Mhm.
um, but I always find that almost counterintuitive, because the last thing I'd want to do if I was going to bed at night is have something that's on my head, and I'd be thinking about it, and every time I'd roll over, it would maybe like disrupt my sleep.
Yeah.
So that was actually one of the key motivators as to why we created the technology in the way we did. And diving into the science a little bit, what we found is your brain has almost like a wake state and a sleep state, and that has to transition. And actually, what we are doing is activating that part of the brain. So if you activate that before you go to bed, then that's actually where the benefit comes from. So we're
Mm.
almost prompting your brain to be in a state where it can sleep and have good quality sleep. And then the other part of the brain, or it's a similar part really, but the other element of this is then the circadian regulation. So that's why we recommend using this again before bed, but at the same time approximately every day. So you're really
Mhm.
entraining that circadian rhythm, so that come your bedtime, that your brain knows to be in the state where it's allowed to sleep, or it's ready to sleep. Um, So to your point about, yes, you might naturally think this is worn in your head when you sleep. Absolutely not. It is the complete opposite. Take this off before you go to bed, and it won't disrupt, hopefully, a good night's sleep.
Yeah, yeah. And, it occurs to me that if you're using it in the evening, it's a nice way to initiate a period of wind down, some time to get calm, get quiet, and prepare your body as well for sleep.
Absolutely. I think that's a secondary benefit actually
Mhm.
of how we've created the device. So when it's worn on the head, for those who don't know, we would recommend that you stay seated. So the device actually puts a tiny little bit of electricity, just a small little stimulation into the vestibular system, which is sometimes called the inner ear. So whenever you activate that part of the brain, it actually gives you a nice, and I'm sure you'll describe your experience with it, but it actually gives you a nice kind of relaxed, almost like you're on a hammock or you've had a glass of wine sort of floating. It is very relaxing.
Yeah.
Um, so it's yeah, it's the sorry, I'm just my mind has went off now on all these kind of like various elements of sleep. But yes,
It seems like it's a good time to show the device right
yeah.
now. I mean, I want to really make this tangible for people as they imagine what it would be like to use. So I've got the device right here. This is called the Modius Sleep device. So a headband, and this is the controller with a couple of buttons on top and an on-off switch on the side. Now, to wear this, you actually have to apply snap electrodes first. So I'm going to show that. Um, these are the little electrodes. They have a sticky back and then sort of a metal snap. And I've already come prepared. I put the electrodes on the back of my ear. And if you can feel just behind your ear, there is a bony protuberance there. That is where the electrodes go. And there's one on each side. So you put the electrodes on after doing some skin prep with alcohol. And then I will don my little crown here. I like to think of myself as Pasithea, the Greek goddess of sleep. Hypnos, if you're a man, I guess. And then I just attach these little electrodes to the sticky pads and hear a little satisfying snap. So this is what it looks like with the device on. Now, as I said, I was laying in bed and I had to put it a little forward because I was laying on my back. But I think it's a much better fit when I'm upright. And then I just turn on the device on the side. And you hear a little beep. Now there's 10 settings, right? There's 10 settings. And what I understand is that you want to go slow. You want to go slow to increase the electrical current that's being delivered. And with each beep, it goes a notch up. And this is part of the customization of the device. Maybe you can speak to this a little bit, Dr. McKeown, because for me, I pump it up to 10 and I just like
Yes.
maxing it out and getting the full effect. I have tried this on a couple of people that I know, and it's really interesting to see the variability of when you start feeling the effect. And I would describe it, it's not painful. It reminds me a little bit of a TENS unit. For those who aren't familiar with a TENS unit, I would say it feels like maybe pulling one single hair from my head on either side, just a little tiny prick maybe to the skin. And then as it comes up, and I'm just going up slowly, I have that sensation of just being a little bit woozy, a little bit like in a hammock, as you
Yeah.
said,
Glass of
maybe
wine.
after one or two glasses of
Yeah.
wine. That's right. And it's interesting to make that analogy because, a lot of people, when they can't sleep, they will use alcohol as sort of a
Yep.
self-medication. Unfortunately, even though it can get you to sleep quickly, there are a lot of detriments to using alcohol. So it's really interesting to sort of have that effect without the actual ingestion of alcohol. So I'm pretty high right now, and I am feeling it. Normally I'm sitting down, so this is a little bit interesting,
Yeah.
but it's just
All over.
like if I were to just show how I feel, it's like a little bit of spin. And there's again just a prick kind of in the place where the electrode is contacting my skin. So what is the mechanism? How does this work?
So the little tingling that you feel going into the skin is as saying earlier, just a very, very small electrical pulse. And what we are trying to do is activate the nerves that are just below the surface in the ear. And those nerves, almost like a USB cable, they actually carry information or signal down a wire almost into the center of the brain. And it's the center of the brain that controls many of the automatic processes that your body regulates without you having to think about it. And one element of that is sleep. Um, uh, from, as I said, the transition from sleep to wake, but also the circadian regulation and even your sleep architecture. So we know that from the surface, we can actually turn on that part of the brain by just putting a little tiny bit of electricity into it. And actually, to your previous question, the reason that we would say, don't be walking around and stay seated is whenever you activate that part of your inner ear,
Yeah,
that's what's actually giving you that sensation of movement. Your brain can detect the electricity going down the nerve, and it gives then this almost illusion that you're sort of rocking a little bit. So we
yeah,
recommend that patients stay seated.
yeah.
But what typically happens is that most patients line this up with an episode of something on television. So it's
Yeah.
it's a 30-minute session with a 30-minute TV show, and then night after night at the same time they make their way through. And what I'm highlighting, what I'm trying to highlight there is it fits into your lifestyle really nicely. It's not that you have to go off and do something or visit a clinic or sit in a doctor's chair doing something. This just fits into your lifestyle. You watch television, after 30 minutes, it turns off, and then you can finish your evening routine and go to bed.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. And that feeling, I was also thinking it's like when you first step onto a boat and you kind of have to get your sea legs a little bit, but you don't really acclimate to it, do you?
So actually, you mentioned going up in the steps, and like sometimes you can go
Mm-hmm.
right up to level 10. So what we typically find is the tingling, just because it's a new sensation, the first few nights of using the device, you might feel it a little more. So we recommend staying at a low level, maybe
Mm-hmm.
like level 2 or 3, or maybe even level 4. And just staying at that level for a few nights. And there's two reasons. One is that tingling, you get more used to it, so eventually you can keep increasing. But the other is actually you don't want to overstimulate and just like crank it up. So it's this concept of more is better. That does
Mm-hmm.
not apply here. More can actually be too much. So
Mm-hmm.
so we recommend starting low and going slow. So maybe level 2, 3, 4 at the start, and then over the period of a couple of weeks, you might eventually get that up a bit. And we typically find that patients end up around level 7, 8, 9, eventually after a couple of weeks.
Got it. And I wonder what your experience has been with people reporting back what their outcome is. Are they looking for faster sleep, higher sleep quality, daytime alertness, all of the above? What is the outcome?
I think no matter what the problem is, what people want to experience, or whenever I'm chatting to our patients, what people want to experience is that they feel great the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it could be for different reasons that you don't feel great. And that as we were chatting about earlier, there's almost like three kind of common reports. One is that you just takes a long time to fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, they're waking up multiple times during the night, and then other people, they're waking up really early in the morning and they can't get over. And we've actually found that all three of those categories actually respond very well. So if you have one or more than one of those problems, actually there's a really good chance that you're going to see a nice result. But ultimately, no matter what we do, the goal is that you feel great the next day. which is really the best indicator that your sleep quality is good and you waking up and you feel refreshed and you're ready to take on the day.
Yeah, and I want to underscore that there is no sort of panacea sleep treatment. All sleep
Yeah.
treatments are sort of meant to be implemented on a backdrop of good sleep hygiene techniques, regular bedtimes and wake times, comfortable sleep environment, all of that. So this is really for people who have established those good sleep habits, who are now ready to take the next step. Now, as a consumer of things, I'm always kind of thinking about, like, questions of, how do I know that this is going to work for me? How long is it going to take? And how will I know if who it's not for? Like people who have dizziness conditions, as you mentioned. I wonder if you can talk about, like, what are some realistic expectations for someone with sleep problems who's considering a device like this?
Yeah, I think there's so many things out there that kind of claim that this is just going to revolutionize your sleep or
Mhm.
like, it's going to work for everyone. And actually we're very upfront and open and say that this is a medical treatment. So yes, this has been validated by the FDA. It is safe, it is effective. A doctor prescribes this to you. But this is still a medical treatment, and medical treatments do not work for everyone.
Mhm.
Now, whenever you look at our clinical trials, actually our results were better than we expected. So 95% of our patients reported some improvement by 4 weeks, which is really high actually. But if you look at those who hit a really nice target, it was around 2/3 of people. So at 4 weeks, it wasn't just a small improvement. They had actually hit a really meaningful improvement in their sleep. So what we would say to people is, this is this is something that we've shown, again, with all the science. It's really robust, all the medical data. We have the FDA stamp on there as well. But the only way for you to really know if this is going to impact your sleep is to try it.
Mhm.
And a big part of what we do, and we'll maybe talk about this again, but we have a money back guarantee, and I know lots of companies have money back guarantees, but ours is not just a marketing gimmick as such. It is to allow you that trial period. So it's not to catch you out. It's to give you. I think it's 30 days where you can actually try the device, and if you feel that it hasn't helped, we'll refund you. As I say, we're not looking for ways to try and catch you out. It is to allow you to have a trial. So I would strongly recommend that anyone who is thinking about this and they're like not sure if it's going to work for me, or is it or isn't it, the only way to do it is try it. If it works,
Yeah.
great. Most of our patients absolutely love it. But if it doesn't, no problem. Let us know, and we'll dig into maybe the reasons why, but we'll certainly refund you to allow you confidence in that trial period.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great and really reassuring to people who have been looking for a meaningful and significant treatment over time. So a lot of the folks who struggle with insomnia are really sensitized to this idea that what they try may not work. So I really like that
Yep.
reassurance that they could have an out. It seems like when I looked at the clinical trials, the outcome measure that you were looking for was their score on the insomnia severity index. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, insomnia severity index.
Yeah.
There are a few, I'm sure for your own patients, there are different maybe scores that you look at. So we wanted one that really applies just to a wide population,
Mhm.
and not only one that gives us an indication of both how severe your insomnia is, but also if it's actually improving over time. So if you go on our website, we've actually made a really simple version of the ISI, and you can go through and answer 7 questions. There are some background questions, but the Insomnia Severity Index, or ISI, there's 7 questions, and we can actually score the severity of your insomnia. And some people think, yeah, I don't sleep super well, and actually, when they score it, it's really, these people have really severe insomnia, and they should absolutely
Mhm.
be treating it. So again, I would recommend that people go and do that little assessment. It takes 5 minutes. But the
Yeah.
basis of our clinical trials and all our, all the FDA processes and the eventual clearance was all based on us showing conclusively that we can improve the insomnia severity score over a period of 4 weeks.
And I want to repeat that back to you because I think the results were really impressive. So 95% of people in the clinical trials reported benefit, and for
Yep.
2/3, that benefit was significant.
Yes, yeah, really, we would call it clinically meaningful benefit.
Yeah.
So it's not just better; it's actually really treated these individuals their insomnia.
Yeah.
So I actually I was even curious. I was going to ask, what was your own experience? Because everyone has a slightly different experience when it comes to, as I say, what's the concerns that they have during sleep, and then even how long does it take before they feel a benefit? And I know you've had a good experience with it, so I'm sure the people watching would be interested just to get your take on that.
Yeah. And, this is something I'm always really transparent about because as a sleep medicine physician, I'm an expert in my field, but I want to be really clear that I am still a human being and I have had issues with insomnia. I have obstructive sleep apnea. And so this has made me not only book smart with sleep disorders, but also street smart with sleep disorders. For me, when I have periods of insomnia, it's mostly get trouble getting to sleep and trouble staying asleep. When I first started using this device, I noticed the effect of that, little bit of disequilibrium immediately. And I remember telling you that was so reassuring to me because when you get that result, you feel like something's happening. And I thought, that was really reassuring. And then what I noticed as I was using it at the same time every day was that I felt really relaxed after it was over. And for me, that pause to like sit down, take a few minutes at the end of my day and kind of wind down is not something I always do. So I think there's an additive effect there, as we were mentioning earlier. So getting to sleep definitely is a big change for me. So I think this reduces the time for me to get to sleep. And I think staying asleep is, always a challenge, especially at, my stage in life. But I think my nighttime awakenings are a bit shorter, actually, especially if I'm really consistent with using it.
Yeah, yeah, I know so many patients experience that, and I say that's my sleep problems. I travel a lot,
Yeah.
as you know, we were chatting about, and
Mhm.
whenever I have periods of, say, disrupted sleep, the biggest impact that I personally have is wakening during the night. So even
Mhm.
if I can get over to sleep, I'll waken up at, like, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and you're almost, it feels like you're fully awake. Um, but what I found was with regular use that period actually started to really shorten down, and then
Yeah.
eventually, almost without realizing it, you'd slept the whole night through, and that actually then is maintained for quite a long time, or was for me anyway. And in the clinical
Mhm.
trials, that was maintained for quite a long time until then maybe you go traveling again, or in international flights. But actually, one of the benefits of the device, and I know for sure Kate actually does this quite a bit when she travels internationally, is putting the device on before you get on a plane, so that actually you have good quality sleep, and then you'll waken up feeling much more refreshed.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. And this
Yeah.
wouldn't be something I think would get a lot of attention if you even were to wear it out in public. I remember taking my son to a school event with my little electrodes on the back of my ears like I was Frankenstein, but it's actually very subtle.
It is subtle. I put like you mentioned, I put it on when we're boarding and there's a lot of commotion. Most people don't even notice that I have it on, but I run the
Yeah.
session while everyone's settling in 30 minutes and I sleep the whole duration of the plane ride. So it works great.
Now we've talked a little bit about the anti-anxiety effect that this can have. I wonder if you can speak more about that.
So obviously, anxiety and insomnia, they go hand in hand.
Hmm.
And actually we were very conscious of this, and whenever we were designing our clinical trials, we actually designed two clinical trials. One was to look at insomniacs with who didn't have much anxiety, and then the other was really to look at people who have insomnia, or sorry, anxiety, and a modest degree of insomnia, and we wanted to compare those two groups. So one trial, if I was to put it into lay terms, one trial was designed at just looking at insomnia, and the other trial was designed at looking at anxiety, and we weren't surprised at this, but it is quite interesting. Both of those trials came back very, very positive. And not to derail the discussion, but we actually got 2 FDA approvals. So the device is approved for insomnia, which we've been talking about. But that other trial also got our anxiety device approved as well. And that is something that we'll probably bring to the market, later this year. But a question we get asked quite often is, well, I have insomnia and anxiety. Which one should I use? And actually, we would always recommend the insomnia device unless it's really severe anxiety. And the reason we recommend the insomnia device is if you can actually improve your insomnia, in many cases, just that de-stressing, you feel better, it actually pulls anxiety down as well. So we see this complementary effect almost for those, and it's super common, who have insomnia, but also have, let's say moderate to severe anxiety kind of in parallel.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That really resonates with me because I've seen it so many times where the insomnia and the anxiety sort of exacerbate each other. And sleep is so powerful that once you have a handle on your sleep quality and the reliability of your sleep, that establishment of trust with your sleep, actually a lot of things improve. Anxiety is just one, but sleep is that powerful. And of course,
I think so, yeah.
I'm always on my soapbox about that. Now, you
Well,
mentioned this is, yeah, go ahead.
Or I was just going to say really quickly, my clinical practice has changed over the years, and I got a lot of people coming and asking about, say, general health and wellness. So maybe they want to feel better, they want to lose some weight. There's maybe quite non-specific, and what's almost presented is like, hey, how could I improve my gym and exercise, and how could I improve my diet? And previously I would have said, yep, let's look at your your exercise, your activity levels, let's look at your diet, and then also let's look at your sleep. But actually I've totally flipped that over now, and I actively recommend fixing any sleep issues before you start those other things, because the impact that has on your physical and mental health and your ability to actually maintain consistent exercise and maintain a healthy diet, if you don't have your sleep in place, the chances of those other two failing are so high that it's almost not worth it. So just the importance of, just highlight again the importance of sleep coming first, and making sure that is absolutely, you're absolutely on point with your sleep, and then you can layer in these other things.
Agree. We're like this when it comes to prioritizing sleep. You mentioned that there's a prescription necessary for getting Modius Sleep. So I want to talk about that process. I understand that people need to start at the Neurovalens website. Can you explain what happens at that point?
Yeah, I suppose this is more, validation on the medical device side. So yes, we have the FDA, but actually this is prescribed by a doctor, and anyone whose own doctor wants to prescribe it, no problem. They can actually just use that prescription, and they can come to our website and upload it or send it to us, and then we can arrange them for the device to be purchased. That is totally fine. But people are busy, and it's sometimes difficult getting in front of their doctor, and sometimes the doctor won't even know what the device is. So you're educating them. So we realized that was a pain point for our patients. So what we've spent the last almost 6 months, I think, doing is building a virtual prescribing service on our website. So you as an individual can go on, you fill out, as I say, that severity questionnaire, you give us a little bit of background info just to make sure the device is right for you. And then that actually goes to one of the providers who we partner with, but essentially it's a doctor who's licensed in your state. And then they will assess all of the information. If they need anything more from you, they can send you a text message to get maybe just answer a few questions. And that whole process is only $30. And once that prescription then is issued by that doctor, then we get the instruction essentially to ship you the device. So it is very seamless. a patient won't even know that they're going through it. It just looks like a kind of, Modius Sleep step by step by step right through to purchase. But in the background, a doctor in your state has reviewed all your information and has signed a prescription for you.
Got it. Yeah. And I'm wondering, are they like screening out people that it's not for? And I wonder if you can tell me who is not a good candidate to use this type of device.
Yeah, there would be a few specific things that we would say, don't use the device, and probably the two most common ones are if you have an implanted neurostimulator, and that could be anywhere, so like a deep brain implant, a vagus nerve stimulator, even like a cochlear implant. There are now some OSA, devices that kind of get implanted in here,
Yep.
and then even cardiac, pacemakers. So if you have that, unfortunately, we're not allowed to prescribe a device for you. And then the other one sometimes is we get asked about is pregnancy. So if obviously you're pregnant, we can't prescribe a device. It can be used immediately postpartum. So once you've had a baby, I'm sure your sleep's not great, but at that point you can add in the Modius Sleep device, no problem. And the reason I'm highlighting that is, if you were to take sleeping pills, but you were breastfeeding, you don't want to transfer any of the medication, whereas you can put this on day one postpartum. And then the other, maybe kind of common things, if anyone had any like psoriasis or maybe skin breakdown where the little pad goes on, we probably wouldn't recommend it. And I think probably those are the main ones, actually. So if you don't have those issues, you'd probably be quite a good candidate for the device.
Yeah, and I had some questions from people in my groups about, I have Meniere's disease or vestibular issues, and I would think that, a great deal of caution would be needed in those situations as well.
Yeah, so those are not automatic exclusions or contraindications, but just as you say, we would definitely recommend caution. So, from people do experience from time to time, maybe vertigo on and off. If that's pretty mild, I'm not super concerned. But what we would say is start at level 1, level 2, and just really, really assess over a period of maybe days and weeks before you slowly increase. And so far, thankfully, that process has worked really well for us. If you are seeing a specialist for something like that, so maybe like vertigo or Meniere's or whatever, then feel free to discuss with that specialist and just get their take on it. And we've had patients who have used it and have been totally fine, and we've had patients who said, "Look, I'm a little concerned. I'm not going to use it in this case," and that is also totally fine.
Yeah, yeah. And adults, so 18 and above, is that right?
22 actually. The
22,
FDA are
okay.
quite strict on this. So although our clinical trials were based on adults 18 and above, the definition or the indication that the FDA allow us to prescribe is adults 22 and up.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, I think the next question would be, does insurance cover this? HSA, FSA, what kind of out-of-pocket expense can people expect?
Yeah, so the HSA and FSA, absolutely. That can be utilized right now. When it comes to insurance, we actually do have eligible codes that we can use, but it would be on a case-by-case basis at this stage. So typically we would have a patient would buy the device, and then we can provide them with almost like a pack of information of medical necessity and why the device has been prescribed. That is submitted to their insurance company, and then that claim is reviewed, and they potentially could then get reimbursed. But as I say, that's a case-by-case basis that we don't really have any control over.
Got it.
And then the other quite interesting area is just recently we have been put, it's called on contract with the VA. So nationwide in any VA center, our device, Modius Sleep, can be prescribed, and the VA will, they reimburse that basically, and we just ship direct to the patient. So for any veterans out there, this is absolutely an opportunity to go and speak to your VA clinician and ask them about Modius Sleep.
Yeah, that's so great because sleep problems are huge among veterans, and just a really nice opportunity to get some real treatment for that. For those who end up paying out of pocket, is there any sort of payment plan or arrangement that they can look for?
Yeah, so currently the device out-of-pocket cost is $11.85 plus if people use the prescription service, then it's $30. That doesn't go to us; it actually goes to the provider.
Hmm.
Um, so you do have the option of just paying up front, but also we have like split kind of payments. There's a payment provider, and it can be over a period of months if interested. And then what we are actually doing, or hopefully rolling out eventually, is maybe more like a rental type model. That's not available just yet, but hopefully that'll be coming as well.
Yeah. And all of these things are meant to, be an investment in your sleep. To your point, this is a foundational biological need
Of course,
that
yeah.
you engage with night after night after night. So I think that, there's a certain amount of longevity that you can expect from a device like this. And so it's a real investment in your brain health, your heart health, your metabolic health, and your mental
Yep.
health.
Yeah, and actually the 1185 for the device, that's your device forever. It doesn't turn off, or we don't. It's not like a certain amount of sessions. That is yours. The little electro pads, I mean, they're not very expensive, but they're replaced. They're single use pads, so maybe every couple of
Hmm.
months patients would buy more. But what's interesting, because you have the device, what we see is patients often wear the device for a period of, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks, and then they reach a target insomnia level or sleep quality that they are happy with.
Hmm.
And quite often at that point, patients will start to use the device less and less. And some people stop entirely and they still have this maintained benefit. But then if something happens, like they go traveling, or there's a stressful event or whatever,
Yeah.
they have the device. It's there in their wardrobe or in their drawer or whatever, and then they can just start using it again, and they can really nip the oncoming insomnia. They can really nip that in the bud,
Yeah.
because they have the device. And then the other thing I would say, actually, just when people are considering this, is that money back guarantee period. If this were medication, you don't get your money back if it doesn't work. You could be trying expensive medication or expensive other like therapies or treatments or going to clinic visits. You don't get an opportunity to get that money back actually if it doesn't work. So we want to do something really different, and we really want to put the patient first. So that is why, actually, even if you've used this for a month, if you feel it hasn't worked, we will refund you.
Yeah. And again, this is a really nice adjunct to treatments that may already be in place. And then if you feel a benefit, you might be able to peel back other things that have side effects or not as much benefit, not as much return on the investment. I would always encourage people, do work with prescribing doctors if you're taking medication for insomnia. You might need a taper, you might need some sort of exit plan, and that's a really safe way to sort of come off of prescription medication or supplements, which are not regulated. That's another area of expense that a lot of people with insomnia turn to. Well, I just noticed that we're about quarter till the hour, and I do want to leave some time for questions. Kate, how are we looking in the Q&A box?
Well, the Q&A box is full. We are getting a ton of questions in, so great crowd this evening. We're having a lot of questions about sleep medications and the idea of, if you're taking medications for sleep and maybe they're working well for you, but that's not something you want to be doing long term, what are your thoughts on using the device versus using sleep medications from a long-term standpoint?
But my thoughts would be exactly as Dr. Wells has just said. So, somebody has prescribed that, if that's a prescription drug. So I would speak with them and say and explain, this is what you're doing, and if you're seeing additional benefit, then take their advice. But if they're okay that you start to taper that down, then that is fine. And actually, that is a very, very common scenario. We see people who are on long-term tablets or sleeping pills. They sort of help, but the terrible side effects, so they want to get off them and they don't want to use them long term, but they have no other choice. So what you can do is layer in the device on top, and then if your prescribing doctor is happy, then you can actually start to take that right down. And in many cases, actually, it's really exciting. We have got people who have been on long-term medication entirely drug-free after a period of several weeks.
Gosh, what a relief. Yeah, that's incredible. And just to underscore again, like all sleep is dependent on good, healthy habits, what you eat, what the light you have, the exercise that you engage in. So there is sort of that fundamental common sense approach to getting healthy sleep. But if you've got sleep aids on top of it, don't just stop them.
Yes.
Work with your prescribing physician to peel back, to taper off, to do it very safely. Not just for the long-term health, but also in the short term. You don't want to have rebound insomnia.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
have some questions coming in about the device itself, as far as battery charging, just a little bit more specifics on maintenance of the device and how it functions.
Yeah, I'll show
Yeah.
you that there's a little micro USB charger on the device, and in my hands, it actually lasts for many charges. Maybe Dr. McKeown, you can be more specific. And then there's an auto shut off after 30 minutes. So the session is automatically timed. And I like that because once I get going doing something, I forget and I can probably stay there for a while. But it automatically shuts off with a little pleasant tone after the 30-minute mark. And then you know the session is done.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I just add to that. Yeah. Probably about 5 to 7 days of simulation can be used on a single charge.
Yeah,
So it's yeah, because interestingly, I've seen medical devices, neurostimulation devices that actually just have a limit on how often they can be used, and once it's done, you're actually meant to go and bin that device and then get a
yeah,
prescription for a new device. And I mean, there's just so many things wrong with that. But
yeah.
what we wanted to do is allow you just to be able to recharge it and use it on and on and on at no additional cost to you.
Any comments on the durability of the device, like how long its lifespan would be expected to be?
So the approval process actually specifies that the device must be durable for at least a period of 3 years. So
Got
the
it.
absolute minimum lifespan is 3 years. But in practice, we've actually had people using, right back when we first started, we've had people using the device almost daily for 5 or 6 years, and they're still going.
Got
Um,
it.
so yeah, we expect for your purchase of the device, we expect a really long, lifespan of that technology.
Yeah, and then the consumable parts are just these snap electrodes and the alcohol swabs, which I imagine are pretty
Yeah,
inexpensive.
and I'd strongly reiterate using the alcohol kind of skin
Yes,
swabs. Just there's a little layer of oil in the skin, and actually, you might think it's just a skin wipe. I can skip that step. That is one of the most important steps, actually, to really take the oil out of the skin and allow the electrode pad to send in the electricity without any additional resistance.
agree. Yeah.
Don't skip the step. One of the other questions that's come in pretty frequently is, what time of day do you recommend using this? Now, I know we talked about it's not used while you're sleeping, but people are asking an hour before bed, 2 hours before bed, right before bed, does it matter? So we've had a lot of questions and a lot of, chatter on that topic.
I'd be curious actually to hear what Dr. Wells naturally did, because everyone kind of finds their own rhythm. But
Sure.
what we would start by saying is probably in the hour before you go to bed. So if you go to bed at say 10 o'clock, around 9 o'clock, maybe a little earlier, I would start this. You do your 30-minute session, and then it gives you another like 30 minutes or so to almost unwind and brush your teeth and get everything ready before you go to bed. It doesn't have to be a case of you put this on, and when the timer goes off at 30 minutes, you're like jumping into bed. It just in the hour or so before you go to bed is totally fine.
Perfect.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's really conducive to that wind down routine. So you may get an augmentative effect there. But I'll say that I've actually picked it up in the middle of the night to have like a middle of the night session, because the sensation of that rocking is pleasant and it kind of taps into maybe that infant part of your brain, being rocked and reassured. At one point, I was thinking that doing a body wrap or like an adult swaddle would also be complementary. but it's just a nice, pleasant feeling. And if you're looking for that in the middle of the night, then I say go for it.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the rocking feeling being similar to, like an infant.
Yeah.
That is not a coincidence, actually. So whenever you rock a baby to help it sleep, you're actually manually activating the receptors in the inner ear. So as you kind of rock back and forth, it's a very slow frequency.
I love
The,
that.
the inner ear actually activates in a certain way. And for a long time, like, years, like 50, 60 years, it was assumed that rocking had a pleasant effect just because of the kind of mechanical rocking.
Hmm.
But actually, there were experiments done in the early 2000s that showed it's a very specific receptor that you must activate. And if you don't activate that receptor, the rocking does not actually help with sleep. So what we have done then is isolate that receptor, and that is the one that we turn on repeatedly with the electricity. So it is actually very, very similar to the neurological experience of being rocked to sleep.
I love that. I could geek out on that all day. I mean, that's really interesting tech. And this is completely different than anything I've ever seen for sleep. But that effect is real and I enjoy it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's everyone enjoys it. Yeah, that kind of rocking feeling. It's lovely actually.
Yeah.
One of the things that came up, which is there's kind of two interesting questions. One is it normal to have weird dreams if you're using Modius Sleep? So this sounds like maybe a current user that's maybe experiencing weird or vivid dreams. Is that something that we see?
I can answer from my personal experience. Absolutely. So that is, I suppose, you would almost have to call this a side effect, but it doesn't feel like a side effect. It's just I have extremely vivid dreams. So whenever I wear the device, compared to not wearing the device, it is really, I actually quite enjoy it. But yes, that is a very common, well, not very common. It's a common enough effect. And some people, when you describe it, they have no idea what you're talking about because they do not get any
Mhm.
of this. But then if you do get it, you know exactly what you're talking about. So whoever asked that question, I know exactly what you're talking about because I get that myself.
Experience it.
Oh, that's so interesting. I don't get that at all, but I will say that one of the functions
Ah,
of dreaming is, emotional regulation and processing, playing out the experiences of the day on the virtual reality of your mind. And I think that if this is at all giving a safety signal for that, it could be incorporated into dream imagery. So that's a really interesting side effect.
fascinating. Yeah. And then what about naps? We had a question about, is it advised to avoid using the device for a planned nap because it can confuse the circadian rhythm? So is that, what are the thoughts on using this with naps?
I'm going to ask Dr. Wells her opinion on naps in general before I say something.
I love naps, but they need to be kept short, and especially if you're somebody who suffers from insomnia. So 30 minutes really is a limitation, and it's also better to put your nap earlier than in the day, assuming you sleep overnight. Before 3 p.m. is the general recommendation for napping. But I'm
Yeah.
team nap all the way.
Oh yeah, no, that aligns actually exactly with my own thoughts. Yeah, my concern with some people say napping, but actually they mean deep sleep during the day, and then you
Mm,
actually can sort of
yeah,
mess everything up. So as you're describing, short naps kind of early in the
short.
day,
Yeah.
totally fine. When it comes to the device, what I would say is do not use the device at that time of the day to induce napping. So
Mm,
if you want to do the napping, that is fine. But then in the evening, regardless, is when you want to use the device to actually almost, as I say, induce that better quality sleep during the night. Um, and if your napping schedule then changes, maybe you need it less because you've improved your sleep quality. That
yeah.
is totally fine.
Yeah, I would hope that's the case too.
Well, I think we are almost out of time. So we got time for maybe one more question. And that is about the safety profile and long-term effects of using the stimulation, the safety profile of Modius Sleep. And is there any downside or harm with using this, long-term?
What I would often say, and whenever I'm asked about this, is you should remember that the implanted neurostimulators have been around for like 30 years. So these things like deep brain implants, or sometimes they're put in the neck and they send signal into the base of the brain.
Mm,
Those devices are implanted, and they are on 24/7. Like so every minute of every day, those devices are delivering neurostimulation. And from those studies, actually, we know that they're extremely safe. There are almost no negative effects with that ongoing stimulation. I mean, they're surgically implanted, that has risks and everything, but the actual electrical stimulation, there are almost no long-term negative effect. So based on that, our stimulation is only 30 minutes and it's non-invasive and it's a much lower dose than any of these implanted devices. We're extremely confident in the safety. But on top of that, we actually then carried out, I mentioned patients were using this for up to 5 years. We actually carried out a long-term safety study on those original patients who were using this, as I say, literally for 5 years. And we did not find any long-term side effects. So in short, extremely safe technology, much safer than drugs. We've done all the kind of background research, but anyone looking at this now should have confidence that the FDA have also said this device is safe and this device is effective.
Perfect. Great. One final question, and that's about the electrode pads. Where do they get them? And can other vendors, other suppliers of the electrode pads be used with the Modius device headset?
Currently, you can order refill packs on Amazon. So I think we have it on the Prime system. So people are getting free delivery, like next day delivery. Those are not expensive. So I would strongly recommend not using another pad. And the reason for that is the stimulation is so precise. It is a tiny little targeted stimulation that although you could maybe get another pad to fit onto the device and to stick onto your head, that the consistency of that pad, the hydrogel, which actually carries the electricity, if that is different, then we have no way of actually knowing that the stimulation that we want to deliver is being delivered. So as I say, our electrode pads are cheap for the reason that we want people to use them and not feel they have to look somewhere else. But even if you could find cheaper pads somewhere else, I definitely would not recommend using them because we really don't know if it's going to work or not.
Before we close, I also want to say that there were many questions from people in my group, not in the United States, wanting to know more about when it would be available elsewhere. Currently, it's only available in the United States. Any sort of trajectory for expanding that in the future?
Ideally, yeah, we're trying to work our way through. Europe or the EU and the UK, we're under review, so it's kind of like approval pending. And then there is a collection of approvals that you can actually almost get at one time, and Canada would be one of those. Also, I think Australia and maybe New Zealand are part of that. So we are slowly expanding. But if you subscribe to our mailing list as these approvals come through, we will be sure to let people know.
Good tip. Good tip.
And if anyone has questions that we didn't get to everyone's questions, so I apologize. There were so many great questions that came in. You can certainly go to our website, neurovalens.com, and from there you can submit questions to us. We have a clinical care team that monitors the inbox, and we will definitely get back to you and answer all the questions that you have. Since we did, unfortunately, we're out of time, and we've got to make sure we get to the code, right?
Oh, yes. Yay.
Yeah. So as a thank you for everyone. All right, Dr. Wells, we'll let you. You want to give the code? We're gonna put it up.
Oh yeah, I would love to. So the code is Super Sleep MD. Yay for Super Sleep. So Super Sleep MD is the code for getting a discount. Remind me how much it is. What the discount is?
The discount. Well, it's normally $11.85. But with the discount, it will bring the device down to $7.95.
Love it. Yeah. And how long will that be active for, Kate?
That will be active for 72 hours. So
Awesome.
You have a 72-hour window to use the code.
So go to the website, neurovalens.com. You're going to look for a button that says, "Do I qualify?" in black. It's right there at the top. And that will take you through a survey that's meant to screen your candidacy. And then you can go into the system for prescribing, and you're on your way to getting your device. Listen, everybody, I really appreciate you showing up. You're showing up for your sleep, you're showing up for your health, and you're showing up to get good, credible information about a completely new insomnia treatment, which is, I hope we've demonstrated, effective, safe, and accessible to you. I don't bring a lot of things to folks unless I can endorse them, and I really like this device. I'm so thankful to Dr. McKeown and to Kate Willis, Craig McConnell, and the whole Neurovalens team for hosting and letting people decide for themselves whether this is going to be an option for them. Any parting words, guys?
Well, I'd like to thank everyone and thanks for having me on and chatting. And I would just really strongly recommend reach out to us if you have any questions. We are the cornerstone of why we founded Neurovalens was to make the lives of our patients better. I said that earlier, so that has not changed. We want to do that, so reach out to us and we will absolutely try and help you through this. And as I say, the trial period is there for a reason. If you want to try it, and I would hope you have a great result, but if not, you just let us know and we'll take care of all that.
And we did record this session tonight, so we will send it out as well. You feel free to pass it along, share it with your friends. And again, thank you everyone for giving up your time this evening to learn about Modius Sleep.